So we're going to talk a little bit about images, and I'm going to keep this as quick as I can, basically just to give you some tips on how to choose images, profile pictures, what they should look like, what kind of images to use in general, the quality of them, and then we're going to go into a couple of advanced tips when it comes to images that once you get things nailed down, you can look into ways to really improve and increase your image quality after even beyond the regular general image options here. So we're pretty much used to seeing this, right? We're used to seeing excellent images. They're pretty nice. You know, we can flip through this deck and it's exciting. Something is just professionally done, in other words. But what if you don't have that kind of expertise? Well, let's look at some options, because sometimes we don't actually have we don't have the funds to hire a professional photographer. We may not even have the ability to hire the in-house photographer at Iowa State. We may also not have somebody within our department or unit who is a photographer. You know, sometimes I will mention that you may have somebody, right? Because a lot of people enjoy doing photography, and so maybe you do. Maybe it's worth asking to see if you do have somebody with that talent within your department that you could utilize for assisting to take some photos for your website. So if you don't have that, you can use royalty-free images. Okay, that's awesome, but what are royalty-free images? Well, you can see the definition here, which is really just from Wikipedia, but royalty-free means that you're going to be able to use the image without getting into trouble. So that's essentially what it means, and that will be something that you're going to want to pay attention to when you're choosing images. For example, you can't just go online, do a search for an image and use that image, right? Because it's owned by somebody, it has copyright. Maybe you can use the image, but maybe you can't use the image for anything in regards to marketing that would bring money into bring money to you. Okay, so what that means is that Iowa State can't use that image then to market to students to pay for tuition to come to Iowa State. So you are marketing something at Iowa State when you put a photo up on your website. So you do fall into that category. So it's important to pay attention and make sure that you have a royalty-free image. Okay. Next. So where can you find them? Let's look at a few places that you can find them. I'm not going to go a deep dive, but I want you to know where they are. First of all, you can go to the ISU marketing website, and this is the place that I would ask for you to check first. It's the best place to go to find Iowa State approved images. And why would you go here? Why would you use images from Iowa State Bank of Images? Number one, it's pretty great to be able to find professional, high-quality photos at your fingertips. So that's a reason. Number two, we want to promote the brand. So I can't see the chat, sorry. So I hope that there's not something major going on here.
No, it's just me, Anne, reminding extension folks about Smug Mug as well.
Oh, sweet beans. Okay. So thank you for that. So basically, you also want to use ISU images because they are part of the brand. And when Iowa State Marketing shares images, they're sharing images so that they can really fully become part of the brand and that people recognize the Iowa State brand. So that's another good reason to use them. So you know that they're safe, you know that you're able to use them, they follow ISU brand, and you have these high quality, they are professional photos at your fingertips. All right, with that said, there's a couple places that I tend to like to go, and these are just from our team, what places that I have gone before, which is pixabay.com, and you can search for different images here. You may or may not find the type of images that you're looking for, but they certainly give you a lot of different options. Some folks have said that this might provide more of like the business type imagery, but I have found them to be really nice, especially if you're trying to improve the look and feel of a page, for example. You can find some great images here, and I'd recommend to go ahead and take a look at some of those. When you, another good point about using ISU images is that you are using images from real ISU students. So the images are of our students, they are of our faculty and staff, and they are actual people at the actual university. So that is a plus. When you use stock photography, just know that our students are going to be able to tell. Okay, you may not think they might, would be able to tell, but they are going to be able to tell if you use something from Pixabay and that it's not an ISU student. So you want to make sure that when you use a photo of students from one of these other places, that you recognize and know kind of the type of content that you're putting it with, and that it's okay that it's maybe not a specific ISU student. The other one is unsplash.com, and so you can go to Unsplash, and same thing pretty much as Pixabay for you to be able to find imagery. Let's start talking about profile pictures. Profile pictures are really important because profile pictures allow you to, or allow our faculty and staff to be recognized. They oftentimes have a profile online so that they can, their research and information can be found, and that in turn improves and increases the amount of views and people coming to your website. And so you really want people to be able to see the person clearly, to know who it is that that they're trying to find. And they're going to want to be able to, number one, recognize that yes, this is in fact the person that I met at a conference. Okay. Number two, they want to be able to recognize this person if they're going to go meet them. Maybe they're a postdoc coming in for an interview. They want to recognize who they're speaking with, and they've probably done their homework to look up the profile. If you have a profile that's not clear, it's hard for folks to be able to recognize that. It also makes your website look much more professional. You can see here that the other quality is that the image of the face is taking up roughly over half of the space allotted for the picture. So you want to actually make sure that the image of the face is the primary component of the image, and that it's clear as well. Let's look at some examples where you may not want to use, or maybe not the best examples for a profile picture. Number one, this person, this might be a good profile picture if it was up close, and maybe the picture could be zoomed in a little bit. Number two, the middle person has a nice picture. It looks great, but his face is quite small actually, and his photo's in black and white. Why would you not want to have a black and white photo? What's wrong with that? Well, it's economy of scale. Essentially, most folks are going to have a colored picture on your department website. If you have someone who has a black and white photo, that makes them look different than everyone else, and it may not be in such a good way. So you want to make sure that, I would recommend, they are in color. What about a default image of an outline of a person, basically stating that this person chose or doesn't have a profile picture? Well, it's kind of like promoting a bad product. The more you promote a bad product, the faster it's going to fail, right? So we don't want to single out people by saying, look at this faculty member who's probably could be very distinguished, could have wonderful awards surrounding them and a great example for Iowa State, but we're going to draw them out by putting this empty image next to their information. It essentially doesn't do anything for the viewer when you put a picture like this there. It doesn't tell them anything. It doesn't show them anything more. It only, I feel like, negatively impacts their profile. I'll try and hurry up here. So how on earth do I get a nice profile picture? We'll look at mine, for example, because I might as well pick on myself. So these pictures were all selfie pictures, I think, except for maybe one of them. I think they're all selfies. So you can see that through the years, it tends to get a little bit better. I'm kind of, working on improving. So the point here is, I found a tutorial on how to take a selfie photo that doesn't look like a selfie, and I followed it, and I took some pictures of myself. That's fine. That's not a big deal. I think people can do that. And then the one at the bottom is S for social. That's like my social media. It's actually more of my personal social media picture at the moment. So I just wanted to show you some examples, real life examples. So buildings are not worth winning the real estate of your page. This is the first pro tip. Buildings, when you look at pictures of buildings, does it bring interest to folks to come and visit your website and see what's going on in your department, as much as, say, these images might? This is what we want to look at. This is what we want to kind of pay attention to. Make sure, it's okay to have a building if your goal is to show people that they're in the right place, in the right section, or in the right spot. Sure, go ahead and show a picture of a building, on your contact page, for example, like your directions page. That's a good place to show a picture of a building. If you just had a recent development project and your building has improved, that's fine for a landing page about the building improvements, but is it what should be on the homepage to engage students or people that have never ever seen your building prior? That's a good question that you'll want to kind of look into a little bit. Let's talk about image quality. So these images here, what's the balance between, and Josh kind of mentioned it, between having a poor image or not an image at all? And one thing I want to point out is that sometimes you're sent an image from students that may not be of high quality because they're traveling, or they're trying to take their own pictures for you, that kind of thing. What can you do? Well, it's pretty easy to improve the picture a little bit. Right here, for example, all I did was bring it into basically Preview on Mac, which is like Paint on a PC, and I just played with the levels, and I moved them back and forth. You can see and improve the image quality that way. So don't be afraid. You don't have to be an expert to do this, and you can actually improve the quality of your images yourself. Sometimes, however, when you go to do that, like in this case, I couldn't really improve the image that much. I mean, there's a lack of contrast here. It's just really difficult to kind of decide if I want to try and make the people look clearer. The background is really bright and challenging to work with. So you really have to decide, is it worth putting the photo there? Maybe it is, because maybe these students won an award or something, but perhaps it's just going to have to be a smaller size image because it's not that great of an image. Again, you don't want to promote a bad quality image. Let's talk a couple advanced tips. Pro tip, use actionable images. Make sure that when you have images that people are actually doing something in the images. Those are the best kind. And remember that people like other people. People want to see other people when they visit your website. So make sure that you have people interacting and engaging in your photography so that it's interesting and provides interest to your visitors. Another pro tip is to use images with the ISU primary colors. When you look at imagery, you can see the difference between the previous slide I showed and this one. Can you tell right away that these are Iowa State University photos? You bet. Now, if I go back a couple, can you tell right away that these are Iowa State University photos? Not exactly, not particularly. So the nice part about this is that it's very clear these images are from Iowa State, and we want to make sure that folks know where they're at and which awesome program that they're looking at. So that's all I have about images.